What is up, my Lorcana Goons, and welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. You're watching the Friday Weekly Market Watch with Zach Stone, and my name is Kevin. We're going to go over some market trends, Lorcana news, and card prices, and we got to talk about what's been happening this week because not only me, but multiple people were able to find first chapter restocks at their local Target. I know a lot of people did not believe me when I made my initial post. Everyone was like, is this an old picture? Is this fake? But a lot of people have been posting, whether you're in California, Arizona, check this out. You can literally see them restocking the first chapter right here from the Redlands, i.e. restock source. And but I actually found some in my local Target as well. So I was able to get maybe like 12 packs of first chapter at MSRP, and a couple people were able to get some themselves. But Zach, did you find any first chapter while you were looking around? I know I told you, but I don't think you went out of your way to find some.
No, I didn't. I didn't end up making a trip to Target or Walmart or anywhere to sell those at retail. My honest reason is just because I chose not to. I'm not as interested in going out and doing that stuff for that type of monetary gain. It's not that I'm even saying it's like not something you shouldn't do. It's more like I'm choosing not to because of like how busy I am with other things. And the main focus that I'm doing is just kind of like building up more of my inventory and getting stuff ready for what we have planned in the future. But we do have a lot of other interesting news to talk about too with what else is going on in the market. This Tamatoa has completely shot up. I'm a little bit shocked, but something to even mention that I think is important is that sales have only reached about $400. So no one's paying right now $570. But Kevin, like, uh, did you get it Enchanted Tamatoa?
I did not get any Tamatoas. I didn't really open any of the boxes that I had. For the most part, we had them for sale at our booth at Ninja Exchange in Carlsbad, California. If anybody wants to come visit us, but they sold out. Like I had like 5 cases and they sold out. And I've been looking around like locally to try and get some boxes because I want to obviously crack some packs myself. And nobody has any. It feels like every local game store sold out. The Tamatoa is the talk of the town. Lowest verified is 560 on the on non-verified seller, and then 575 by Quackmore Cards. But yeah, as like you were saying, most recent sales are around that $400 mark. But correct me if I'm wrong, this is probably the most expensive enchanted we've seen out the gate anyways since like first chapter days. I don't even think Mufasa sold for $400, and Mufasa wasn't like that playable. This is a playable enchanted. A lot of people are playing either 1 to 4 copies of Tamatoa Happy as a Clam in their Sapphire decks, making it like one of the most expensive Lorcana cards now. So this is a good set. We have good enchanted, so because there's multiple enchanted that are actually more than $100 in this set, which is good. Then we have good legendaries too. So I think it's going to be a very popular set. If you pre-ordered it at your local game store, I think you're going to feel very happy that you did, because when it comes out, it's going to be a little bit harder to find, I think, than something like Azurite Sea, Shimmering Skies. A lot of people like this set so far. Just some other enchanters I want to talk about, like the Donald Duck Flustered Sorcerer. How do you feel about this enchanted, Zach? It's Donald Duck, right? So I feel like $100 is where it's going to settle at. Do you think it's going to go lower?
I don't think it'll get as low as like 60 or $50. I think it's always going to maintain a decent price point, but I could see it going lower. Keep in mind that in the next week we will have big box release, and that's just going to have more singles and more product out, so you'll have a chance to pull your enchanteds like your Donald Duck or that Tamatoa. And yeah, it's going to affect the market, and we will definitely bring you that news when it starts to happen. But yeah, this Donald Duck, not the most playable, but definitely the most collectible, and I'm a big fan of the art.
I wonder if they're gonna be restocking first chapter next week too, when they stock up the the Arcasia's Island stuff at Target. I kind of want to bring it back to the first chapter thing, just because I really do feel like it was a kind of a shock to see first chapter restocks. Everyone's been really hoping that they were gonna stop printing first chapter, and Ravensburger did say they would make an announcement if they ever stopped printing it, and it doesn't look like they have. Who knows if this is like an extra printing, if this is just a restock, because it didn't look like there was a lot of first chapter chapter either. It was like one peg full, maybe like 20 packs at most that the targets that I went to probably had. But I really want to know if they're going to keep restocking it just so I know what to expect. Because if I go to Target and I see a bunch of Arcasia's Island and a bunch of first chapter, I'm going to want to buy both. You know what I mean? It's a good set. And I think first chapter is always going to be a good set for me personally. I mean, you could potentially pull the Elsa, bro, or you can pull one of these Bell Strange but Special Enchanteds. These are selling for around 250. Lowest verified is 241 actually by NP Games. The reason I bring this up though is because we're in a Sapphire meta. A lot of people are utilizing the ability to ink multiple times to play with Oswald, and even this Bell from the most recent set is starting to see some play in this meta too. Bell, the Mechanic Extraordinaire. Awesome Enchanted Rare selling for around 160. The lowest verified is World Class Singles, 160 with 97 cents shipping included for your Bell Mechanic Extraordinaire. So that's pretty cool. There's some decent enchants in this set. If for being a Princess Enchanted, I think this is a beautiful artwork. Some of the other Princess Enchanted seem to be very basic, you know, princess in a dress type beat, but this one's cool. It's a Floodborn Princess Enchanted, and I'm not really used to seeing that outside of something like Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, which is kind of going up in price a little bit. They used to be more than 300 bucks. They hit a bottom of around 250, but they're shooting back up a little bit to 280. Lowest verified, easy buy and sell. We're ready for you right here. Tinkerbell, Sapphire Steel. Are people playing it, Zach?
You know, yes, there are some tempo lists that are gearing a little bit more away from like the combo heavy variants with the Oswalds, and they are dedicating the, I would say the regular, what we're used to seeing, Tinkerbells, Grab Your Swords, Hades, all the classic mid-range cards that Sapphire Steel loves to play are making a return in some of the deck lists. So yeah, this is a $280 enchanted, which is good to see. It's very healthy, and with the restock of that first chapter, we're looking at potentially more copies hitting the market. I'm hoping that they keep printing a little bit more and keep putting more of it out there. If they don't plan on doing a rotation, this makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so if they do a rotation and they stop printing it, that's going to be one thing. But if they don't do a rotation, this is going to be really good, and I'm kind of excited for it.
I'm also excited for it. It's good to see like first chapter out in the wild still. I know it's still very popular. They're for sure when I got to the targets like the pegs weren't full. You know what I mean? They were full of Arcasias and Shimmering Skies. Those were untouched. But yeah, the first chapter was like dwindling already. So I think a lot of people still respect that the Lorcana market in that sense. But let's talk about some meta trends, shall we? Because Tamatoa happy as a clam, man. This like I was just saying, talk of the town, $60 legendary, most expensive legendary in Lorcana now, next to Rapunzel, very similar price. But this is from the new set. So if you open in boxes from your new sets, you have some pretty cool hits, some nice cards that you can be chasing after. Lowest verified, going to be Digital Ink, $55 with $5 shipping for your Tamatoa. Happy as a clam. So it's settled at $60. They were selling for more over the first week. I feel like over the first week we saw an insane amount of hype, you know, and for good reason. There's some awesome tournament results and great players who were making Metafy articles talking about like this deck is tier 0 and stuff like that. And look at these cold foils, dude. Oh my gosh, these cold foils. They're not $100. I think on Monday we saw some listings for around 100, but they weren't really selling for that price. But we have lowest verified at 87.49 today by the Geek Peak. And recent sales are 90, 86, 83, 85, 85, 40. So if you have this in your trade binder, if you pull one of these cold foil Tamatoas, I'd probably consider valuing it at around $90 in your trade binder. Maybe give yourself a little bit of leeway room if you want to make some good trades. Somebody did buy two of them for 104. $100 might be a little too high, personally, but that's a really good cold foil to pull from your boxes. And I've been seeing people pull like some crazy packs from the new Arcadia set, dude, like double legendary packs, or somebody pulling a legendary and an enchanted Tamatoa in one box, and it's like, oh my gosh, man. So some of these boxes be hitting right now. Let's talk about Oswald, the Lucky Rabbit. This was a card from set 6. Didn't really have any playability last format, but all of a sudden it's one of the best cards in the format right now. Everybody wants to play Oswald Lucky Rabbit. Lowest verified is $25 and $1.60 shipping. Then that's going to be by Pokemon. Then Zig's Card House has them at $27. So they were selling for around 30, like they're after that tournament success. But now they're settling at around 25 to 27. So not too bad if you pay, like I was saying last week, if you pay $30, I think that's a reasonable price still. Anything more than 30 might have been too much, and like 25 or less is probably a good deal because this card's going to be in the meta for sure. A lot of people taking advantage of Oswald's ability to play items for free off the top of your deck. It does feel a little bit lucky sometimes though. But like you were just telling me before, is like people want to add in different ways to ink multiple times. You have Fishbone Quill, you got Tipo, Sail, Bell Strange but special. You know the ramp capabilities are a very high ceiling for Sapphire decks. Cold Foil Oswald selling for around $40, 37.49 by Onion Knights cards. That Onion Knights cards. I read that wrong. That's going to be almost $40 for your Oswald Cold Foil. Zach, would you rather get these in Cold Foil, or are you more of a D23 Oswald player?
I prefer the cold foils. I'm not the biggest fan of like the D23 promo cards like that. However, they are cool, and we don't have them up at the moment, but I know those are floating at over $100 right now. So yeah, the D23 Oswalds are something to consider if you're looking to get like the highest rarity version. But this card, I still think, is a nice solid price point. I did take some of my Oswalds from my inventory and sold some of them online. I definitely moved a good amount of them, and I sold them at actually $28. So I pretty much set like the price point of where people are wanting to like be settle with Oswald. I would say Scrooge McDuck is following the same suit. I think this is gonna float around like a $30 legendary for a while. Again, we're gonna see more copies of the of Set 7 release come out in big box stores next week, and singles are going to have more. I would say flood the market a little bit more, and this is going to happen. So think about it. If you need them now for a tournament coming up, consider picking them up. However, I would wait just another week or two. These will probably go down to closer to $25. That's probably a good price to buy them at. My honest opinion.
I'm not gonna play any tournaments anytime soon. There's no like big tournaments. There is a big tournament around us actually. It's the Top Choice Gaming one. Shout out Dio.
There's two, and there's Red
And
Saber
the
games the
yes, and the Red
following
Saber
week.
and the Red Saber one. Shout out Rob. So maybe I do need to pick up some of these cards. Personally, I'm not a Sapphire enjoyer. I think Sapphire is a great color combination. If I were to play Sapphire, I'd probably play something like blue green and be a little spicy, you know. But if you need your cards, they're getting up there in terms of price and demand. This Scrooge Cold Foil selling for $55, almost $60 right here by everybody's cards, man. This feels good. This feels good to have expensive hits in Lorcana, because sometimes you buy boxes of Azurite, you buy boxes of Shimmering Skies, and you pull buns, you know. And at least with Arcasia's Island, I'm seeing a lot of people, actually find a lot of excitement when opening their Cold Foil Legendary Scrooge or something, because that's like half the box right here in terms of trade value, right? Or even just monetary value if you're going to sell it on OfferUp, Facebook, or wherever you're at. Let's talk about some other trending cards. Strength of a Raging Fire. We looked at this on Monday, and I said they were getting very close to $20. Not quite yet, but today, lowest verified is now going to be $19.97 by Local Cardboard. Shout out you guys. That's $20. That's a $20 rare now. This is from set 2. Set 2 is getting pretty old, and for sure, I do not see Set 2 Rise of the Floodborn restocked as much as I see some of these other sets restocked. I don't know about you, but that's just my opinion. What do you think?
So this is a card that does come out in the Illumineer's Quest Deep Trouble, and this is a card that
Zach, I have two of
is
them.
yeah.
I have two of them. Yes, you're right.
Yes. So and this is a card that still is going to see a lot of play at 4 copies, I'm sure, between every steel deck. We're talking blue steel, sapphire steel, emerald steel, purple steel, amber steel, and heck, even ruby steel, I'm pretty sure plays it. So every steel deck needs 4 copies. This is a staple. And that
it's like
justifies the price of some of these staples.
it's like one of the best steel cards to exist, right?
Yes, and you can use it throughout multiple color combinations. It's
Hmm.
not like a card like Be Prepared, where some Ruby decks can play it better than others. And I I've seen some lists, play like 1 or 2 copies, between different Ruby decks. But this is just a really good card, and cold foils are you can get some deals right now if you're looking to pick up a couple from some non-verified sellers. They got them for you for just about $30 after your shipping costs. You will pay a little bit more after your tax, but look at this, everyone. This is something to really point out. You cannot buy you cannot buy more than a single copy from any of these sellers as of right now. You have to pick them up one by one by one. and you're gonna at least be paying $35 on one of those copies if you need a playset. So, I would value these around like $35 now. Pretty sure there's going to be a little bit more that come into the market, but yeah, we're seeing a steel dominant meta right now.
Steel is very good. Who would have thought? This card can potentially deal infinite damage too, because it doesn't have a solid number on it. It's just based off how many characters you have in play, and there's no rule in Lorcana that you have to have X amount of characters. You can have as many as you want. So realistically, Strength of a Raging Fire can deal infinite damage, right? Very strong card, a very strong card in this meta. Let's talk about Rapunzel, gifted with healing, the other legendary, the other most expensive legendary in Lorcana. Plenty of non-verified sellers got you with them deals, Zach Stone. We have some red 3 TCGs, Celestial Game Realm. These are some non-verified sellers. Maybe you want to hook them up with some sales to get their ratings up, but they have them listed for around $42, which is really good compared to the lowest verified, which jumps to $60. So that's almost a $20 difference right there. If you guys want to get some deals, you need some Rapunzels right now for your inventory. I think buying them at $40 is more than reasonable, especially when, like I was saying, you're gonna have to pay at least $60 for a seller that has more than one. So if you want to pick up like almost a playset, not even a playset, but almost a playset, you're paying at least $60 each. And some recent sales that gonna justify that right here. Just today somebody bought two of them for $59.97. Yesterday, $59.49. Somebody bought a playset of them. So $60
I'm
Rapunzels.
curious if you can add those two to your cart. Try adding them to your cart,
Oh yeah,
Kevin.
let's see.
The
You're
the,
right.
the two cheaper ones.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
let's
Yeah, you can.
do some due diligence.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, I can. There we
okay,
go. There you go. I'm not gonna
okay.
buy them. I know that I know that bugs people when I do that. I buy them on the video. I'm not gonna do it. So if you guys watch this video and they're still there, go ahead and collect your gains. Go get them deals. But I think that's a good deal right there. Sometimes you find good deals like that on
Oh
CCG.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
absolutely. And
40
and,
bucks
and
instead of
cold and
60 bucks.
cold foils are like like not double the price, but
Mhm.
like
Oof.
they're pretty much closer
Yeah.
to the where they used to be a long time ago.
They're getting up there, man. We have Khan's Kingdom, 82.33 for the lowest verified for a cold foil Rapunzel. Then the Japanese Rapunzel is listed after for $90, basically $89 anyways. Then Galaxy Games has them for 88.23 with $1.29 shipping. So it's at a $90 cold foil. Personally, that's what I would value it at. Very nice, very nice. It was hitting $100, so it did kind of come down a little bit in the last couple weeks. I do recall them being listed at more than $100, and there wasn't that many listings, but there's a little bit more listings than what I remember seeing. So getting very close to $100 again. And then there's some Japanese ones there too. So I think that might make an impact. The fact that you can play with Japanese or Chinese cards in the Americas means that you'll be able to get those if you don't want to pay the extra premium for your English copies, right? Let's talk about Doc Bold Knight. These were selling for $7 to $8 for the longest time. Today, lowest verified is going to be $10 by Cardiac Gaming. Shout out you guys. Then we also have a non-verified seller right there for basically the same price, but they're going to be $10 rares now. I think Doc is very strong. Doc is probably one of the best draw engines in Steel, and I think if you want to play a deck like Ruby Steel or like a deck like Green Steel, you need some extra draw power. So this is one of those cards that just lets you play a lot of different color combos or a lot of different decks, and have like a decent strategy because drawing cards in any card game is really powerful. And there's not that many draw cards in Lorcana. A lot of the draw cards seem to be like in purple and blue. And Steel doesn't have like a good draw engine outside of Doc and Beast Tragic Hero. So it doesn't surprise me why this card is getting as high as $10. And cold foils are now $20. Wow. Cataclysm Games 1936 lowest verified for your Doc cold foils. Zach, how do you feel about that?
Doc is still just the card that you want to find in when you're playing a lower to the ground aggressive deck. Amethyst Steel is playing 4 copies. The Sapphire Steel Kiwi Birds version is playing 4 copies. Green Steel has increased its copies now because it's just you need to be able to dig a little bit deeper into your deck and find some more cards that I think will win you the game. And
Dig a
you
little
also
deeper.
you also just have the ability to bounce it back with cards like the Muses. You have some Amber
Snake
songs that can add two
box.
cost characters from your discard back to your hand.
Yeah,
And
that's true
yeah, this
too. Yeah. There's a lot of synergy too with like Chernobog strategies, where you can discard characters and then you have more Chernobog fodder. There's the new tramp cards that say if you have more characters on board, you can play it for free, then draw and discard cards. So there's a lot of strategies you can use with this idea, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, the tramp is like a good thing to think about because like discarding cards can actually help you. Sometimes the cards can actually do a little bit more in the discard pile. The Lilo was the first card mentioned because you would be able to discard it and you wouldn't mind it being in the discard pile because you can play it on your turn. Just exerted from the discard pile, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, $10 price point, $20 cold foils. The time to get your docks, I think, is not ran out, but I think they capped. I don't know if it's going to go up a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, they're at their high point. Don't know if it's going to be as big as Genie last format, $20 for a rare. But 10 seems reasonable. Let's talk about Gontu, the experienced enforcer. I'm sure a lot of us saw the Lilo and Stitch trailer. Did you see that, Zach? By the way, the new Lilo and Stitch trailer came out this week. I'm super excited. I actually need to watch the Lilo and Stitch series again. It's been a long time since I've watched any episodes, and I want to watch the movie again too. But I'm excited for the series. So I want to talk about Gontu. It's a Gontu, the experienced enforcer. This card is going to be selling for around $3. $3 super rare, not too bad from the new set. Almost $4 actually, depending on where you're getting it from. Geeked Out $2.90 with $1.31 shipping, and these non-verified sellers have it for $3.26, $4.20. Kelvin Little Shop $2.89 with $1.31. So close to $3 to $4 for your Gontu experienced enforcers. We have cold foils selling for $12 $13. A Kankakee Games. That's really hard to pronounce. Kankakee Cards, actually. 12 lowest verified, and start over 13.39 shipping included. So $13 for your cold foil Gantus. Do you think they're gonna give us like a promo Lilo or a promo Gantu? I mean, when the new movie comes out, because I have a theory that they're purposely like marketing this movie now alongside the Reign of Jafar, and on that starter deck for the Reign of Jafar that's coming out in set 8, you can see a Stitch that looks very like 3D-ish, almost CGI, almost movie like. So I get the feeling they're purposely gonna do that. They might even give us some cards that look like movie animations, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a world where something like that happens. The Moana 2 movie had promos given out in certain theaters in the United States. So there probably is going to be something similar. I'm not too sure if they're going to give them out to different theater companies. I think they only stuck to one company when they did it. So if they do multiple theater companies and distribute them more out, that'd be really cool. For it to be a Gantu card, though, I don't see it being this Gantu. However, it might be something in the Reign of Jafar. We might see, a card teased that way from a promo. And yeah, Disney Lorcana needs to do more things like that because it's going to get more people interested in the game that don't already know about it or play it, or maybe they've seen it once or twice when they've gone shopping and they've just been curious, but they haven't bit the bullet yet. So I very much believe that something like this should happen, and I hope it does.
Yeah, I hope it's a Stitch promo. That'd be really cool. And like I
Oh
said,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, when Moana 2 came out, it was around the same time where Azurite Sea came out, and we got a lot of cards that referenced the Moana 2 movie, right? I'm just saying, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I do feel like Maui Half Shark was heavily referenced in Moana 2, and then also the Kakamora stuff. There's like different Kakamoras you got in Azurite Sea that I hadn't seen in Moana 1, and then seeing clips from Moana 2, I'm like, oh, is this where this is from actually? So it's I think it's cool that there's some overlap there. Let's talk about Haram Flavor Sham. Lowest verified going to be $3.50 with $1.31 shipping. Almost $4. That's going to be by Schlump Games. Shout out Schlump Games over here for having the lowest verified today. $3.50 with $1.31 shipping for your Haram Flavor Shams. Let's see what cold foils are looking at. These are going to be as high as, whoa, these shot up in price this week. $35 lowest verified for your Haram Flavor Shams. Mystic Falls TCG, lowest verified. Not quite $40 yet, but it's getting very close to that. What do you think?
Oh boy, that's what I think. Um, the thing to point out too is that we haven't seen too many restocks of Floodborne outside of the more recent D100 restock gift set. That is the only thing that I think has came out more recently that was a restock. Outside of that, this card does come in the starter decks, but we don't see any more of those, right? And this is a auto include four of in almost every Sapphire deck. I think you can even get away with it playing in Kiwi Birds because of just like how much you have to rely on the items because of Bell. Like this is a better justification too. Just getting more consistent draw power, emptying your hand, and just eventually like winning the game. And another card that's been going up in that deck is the Alice Savvy Sailor. Non foils from verified sellers have them for $3.49. Team The has got you right now at the lowest verified. You can buy a couple copies for about that price, but they're floating around $4. We don't see a lot of sellers that have multiple until you get to the $4 mark. So this is a very interesting card that's been spiking up more of recently. I think it's also just important to remember too that this is just um, more of like a sought after card for its wifeability.
Yeah.
Cold foils are sitting at $13 from Nat 20 games, and that is a good thing to see.
Yeah, these have been shooting up. The cold foils have been shooting up as well. I think a lot of it speaks on the playability. A lot of people, like you said, have been playing the more tempo-based version of Blue Steel. That's what I like about the meta too right now. Is that yes, Blue Steel is one of the best decks, but there's different ways you can play. You can play Whole New World. You can play Aerial Treasure Collector, Lucky Dime combo. You can play the Kiwi style bird, which is just tempo aggro. You can even just play like super aggressive, and just start hitting like 2 quest cards, like no flavor shams. You're just playing Lawrence's and Smees and stuff like that. There's a variety of ways you can play Sapphire right now, or Sapphire Steel, and this card tends to make an appearance in a lot of those different builds. And showing up in the card pricing, cold foils are going to be $13 by Nat 20 games. GG. Very nice to see. I think aggro strategies are also going to be really popular coming soon. I understand that Sapphire Steel has the steel removal in the deck, but it's still a Sapphire deck. Sometimes they have to take time to set up their items unless they're playing the tempo version, right? And I think cards like Maleficent Biding Her Time are very good against those decks. It's a rare from the first chapter, getting pretty scarce. I feel like a lot of people don't have these like on deck, you know what I mean? And then they go up in price every now and then just because they're kind of hard to find. Lowest verified is Prophecy Gaming, 415 with $1.31 shipping, and that's going to be what you're going to have to pay for a verified seller. If not, you're going to have some for $3.48 with $1.31 shipping. So getting very close to around $4 to $5 for Maleficent Biding Her Times.
Yeah, no, this is actually a card I am currently out of in my inventory. So I I haven't been able to find any of the first chapter restock. I haven't been able to get any singles from this yet. So hopefully I can get some soon because this is just a card I don't have. And if you do happen to need anything else, I am at Frankenson's Collectible Show every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday at booth M4. Come see me in what is called the card room when you walk in. And yeah, I do have a lot of other cards available. If you have any of these, definitely sell them to me if you're interested. I'll pick some of these up at pretty, decent prices. But yeah, this is definitely a card that I'm seeing a lot of more aggro decks just start to jam a lot of low cost two lore questers. Like you mentioned, setting up with Sapphire decks seems to be what they have to do. And that's why you're looking at more of the tempo Sapphire Steel decks starting to make a little bit more of a recurrence. This meta is not solved by any means necessary. And keep testing some more decks, guys. Keep
Yeah,
trying new things
yeah,
because I
you'd be
think there's
surprised.
some undiscovered stuff.
There's really good decks. There's some seriously good decks. My cousin has been just disrespecting his local Sapphire meta with Amber Steel. I know Purple Steel is like an insanely good deck. If we're looking at the LCC that's happening with on Pixelborn with these top players, a lot of them are playing interesting decks. We have the European national champion piloting a red purple mill deck. And then we have Mo Shamblin playing a blue green deck. So the meta's not solved by any means. There's always going to be meta hype in the beginning of the format. We say this at every market watch when the format starts. Don't let the meta hype like dictate like the way you look at the game, because yeah, you'd be surprised on some of the strategies that are going to start doing well come like tournament season, set champ season. But yeah, we're going to cover it on the channel. If you guys want to see some deck lists that did very well in this first opening weekend, we just dropped a video yesterday going over like 17 decks from top tournaments and whatnot, and not all of them were Sapphire. I probably only covered like 5 or 6 different Sapphire decks, and a lot of them were different color combinations too, which is nice to see. But speaking of Sapphire, Maurice's Workshop seeing a lot of play right now because of the Oswald Sapphire deck, and these are just shooting up. Non-foils were literally 50 cents in from January to February, and then shooting up all the way to $2 to $3 now. Lowest verified Elysium Video Games 211 with $1.31 shipping right there. Some non-verified sellers still have them for around $1 plus and some extra shipping costs, but you're gonna have to pay at least $2 to $3 per Maurice's workshop from what it's looking like. And cold foils are $20+ now. Look at that. $20.50 by Presidential TCG for your lowest verified Maurice's Workshop. Cards great. Like I was saying, like Sapphire has some of the best draw power in the game next to Amethyst. And it seems a little unfair. You know what I mean? This card's pretty unfair, especially when you can play items for free with Oswald. All you have to do is pay an extra ink after that so you can draw a card. Speaking of Sapphire cards, Tamatoa is so shiny, going back up in price this week. Like I've been saying, you can use this in your Lucky Dime strategies. Lowest verified is going to be by The Lounge, $25 right here. They have two of them for you at $24.87. There's also some Japanese cold foils here for $20 and $3 shipping if you want to pick them up in Japanese instead. This seller MTG Solid has four of them ready to go for you. I like that. A whole playset ready to go, and they're Japanese, and they're the cheapest on the market. Shout out you guys for them deals.
This is just a powerhouse, inkable, 8 cost card. Doesn't feel bad playing 4 copies in your deck.
I like that you said inkable. I like that you said inkable, Zach. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think inkability is so important in Lorcana, and oftentimes the most expensive cards in the game are just inkable, and it's because you can play them at 4 in your deck without really feeling bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you get to play 4. It's just a card you have to have answers for. I know some Sapphire decks are just no, not necessarily Sapphire. Yeah, more Sapphire Steel decks are considering cards and characters like Hades, Let It Go, just to deal with single target removal. You don't have necessarily like a 1 card answer to Tamatoa in those decks unless you're flooding the board and singing strength. But still, and a nice price. And I think they've gone up. These used to be like $16, $15 for quite some time, but now the Sapphire cards have just doubled in price. From what I've noticed, they've literally doubled in price.
Sapphire dominance is
absolutely
real. But yeah, Zach, it sounds like you should have been hitting those first chapter restocks. You need for the Tamatoa cold foils, for the Maleficent bindings, the Maurice's workshops, the Elsas, the Rapunzels. I'm telling you, first chapter. First chapter is a banger set, man. I think if you can find the first chapter at your local Target, definitely try and scope those out. Everyone's hyped on Pokemon right now, so there's gonna be all those people fighting over Pokemon and Charmander and all these other stuff, and you can sneak in and grab the first chapter because they don't even know, they don't even realize, bro. Oh, and then on top of that, next week when you start seeing Arcasia's Island at retailers, you can hunt for that Enchanted Tamatoa, and the Pokemon scalpers, they're not gonna know that there's a $500 card in there. Let's talk about some cold foils from Arcasia's Island, like Giant Cobra, the Ghostly Serpent. This is selling for around $9 to $10 today. Start over, lowest verified, $8.98 shipping included. Then we have Cascade Games, $9. This is a $9 cold foil, uncommon from the new set. Very nice, very nice. Probably one of the best cards for your Amethyst Steel decks. I play 4 in my deck, and I think this card's broken. Would never play less than that. Pete Space Pirate, this cold foil is selling for around $8. Lowest verified is going to be $7.22 with $1.27 shipping. I've been seeing some people find success with Emerald Steel and using this Pete in their Emerald Steel engine. Some people even getting top 8s at their like 50-player tournament with Emerald Steel Pirates, which is really cool. Like I've been saying, guys, go watch our video we just dropped yesterday. Very cool video. But yeah, Pete Space Pirate, very strong ability if you're playing Emerald Steel already, because you're more than likely playing Pete Games Referee anyways. And now you have a shift character that can stop your opponent from singing songs.
Definitely a card that I know people are messing around with in Emerald Steel decks. That's just on curve with the 3-cost Pete, like you mentioned, and the other option too is that the pirate decks, they haven't been given a lot of love, but they have the most, I think, like tools to their disposal, and they have some cards that are, I think, like more aggressively powerful than what you can consider. There's a Donald Duck from set 6. I think it's when you have a captain in play, it gains 2 lore, and
Yeah,
it
he
has
quests for 3. Yeah.
yeah, you request for 3, and there's cards that allow you to like ready your pirate
The new
characters when you
Smee.
play in
The
action.
new Smee.
Yep,
Yep.
yep,
Yep. Zach
yep.
knows the
There's a lot,
combos.
and there's Daisy Duck when you have a pirate character in a location and requests you draw a card.
Yes.
Um,
I hope
yeah.
that Daisy becomes good. Like I hope people solve the pirate the pirate meta, because I have 3 of those Daisy enchanted rares. Because I think the
Oh
card's good.
man,
I think the card's good, and it was
I think the card's good too.
yeah. It just happened to be that I pulled one and I bought 2 in, and no one ever bought the Daisies. So I have 3 of those. But hey, there's a world where I play Emerald Steel Pirate now, and I'll play 4 Enchanted Daisy in that deck because that's a good card. Lets you draw. And like you said, the Smee lets you re-ready your characters. But yeah, Emerald Steel Pirate, man, I think you think you hit the nail on the head. I think this is the archetype in Lorcana that has the most support. It might be the first like consistent archetype in Lorcana pirates. You know what I mean? You can make an actual pirate deck. There's not like I guess the puppy deck is also there, but the puppy deck is just not it yet. There's not enough. There needs to be some more power cards in that deck. But last but not least, we're gonna talk about Hideaway. This cold foil from set 5 has been seeing a lot more play recently. Everyone's playing item decks, and sometimes you need to get rid of their Lucky Dimes, their Maurice's Workshop without destroying them, without sending them to the discard pile. And Hideaway is one of the few cards that lets you do that in this game. You target an item or location, and you put it into the player's inkwell exerted. So this means that your opponent cannot grab it back from the discard pile with Tamatoa Happy as a Clam. Very important. The cold foils are starting to go up a little bit more. They're really cheap right now still. Commander H has them for $127 with $1.31 shipping. Next verified seller is going to have it at $3 though with $1.31 shipping. So somewhere in between that $2 to $4 mark is where this card is at right now, and I do think it's going to just see a lot more play in the future, if assuming you're playing Sapphire, right? So if you're a Sapphire player and you don't have these cold foil or you don't have these yet already, make sure you have these for when the meta starts developing more, because it's going to be a lot of locations, McDuck Manor, library, you know, and a lot of items too.
Definitely a card that I've been testing a little bit more in Sapphire Steel decks too, and yeah, not too many copies that are going to be floating around this long for this price, in my opinion. More and more people are going to want to play this card, and this card becomes even something to consider playing around in Sapphire Steel because you have Hiram and Bell that can banish certain items, so you can keep them in the discard pile for where you actually want them. And that's the reason why I kind of mentioned that, like, I find my Platinum isn't a solid answer to that deck, because put him in the discard pile doesn't do much. It kind of delays the inevitable.
Side note, counterpoint, slightly disagree. I do think obviously if you're playing Steel and you're not playing, you don't have any Sapphire stuff, I think Find on My Platinum is a reasonable card. Like you said though, they just grab it back. However, depending on the way you're building your Steel deck, I think you can set up a board where you have a lot of 2 questers, and if your opponent's going to spend their whole turn playing Tamatoa Happy as a Clam just to grab back their Maurice's Workshop, play the Workshop. They spent 9 ink and that's their whole turn. That's fine. I'm gonna keep questing with my Smees, my Lawrences, my Daisies. But again, it just depends on the strategy you're building. Because if you're trying to aim for a more control build, you know, not an aggressive build, and you try and use cards like Find on My Platinum, yeah, you're right. You're gonna get got. They're just gonna put them back on the board the next turn because they can grab them back pretty easily with Tamatoa. But again, like Lorcana is a strategy resource game. It's like chess with a bunch of different pieces that keep coming out, and I think a lot of it isn't solved. You know, there's going to be a lot of meta hype like this Tamatoa that's selling for like $400 to $500, but don't let that sway you into thinking you have to play these decks. Test online, test with your friends, try some strategies, you know, check out our videos so you can try out some new decks yourself. But yeah, this is going to be the end of the Friday Market Watch. We hope you guys have an awesome weekend. If you guys do play any tournaments and you find success, please join our Discord. Drop those deck lists below, because I love doing the weekly meta roundups where I just look at tournaments and we look at the decks that are topping, because we know that it's not just going to be like all Sapphire Steel or Sapphire Ruby for that matter. But yeah, anything you want to say before we call it a day, Zach Stone?
You know what, guys? Thank you so much to everyone that's still here watching this video to the very end. We really appreciate your support, and all of the content that we make is for you guys. Like Kevin mentioned, get in our Discord and get active with the community. So many people there are discussing different deck ideas, different tournament reports, and even picking up some, getting some deals made. So go ahead and get in our Discord and see what's going on, guys. And until then, stay tuned to Lorcana Goons, and we'll see you Goons next time.